He's a great fighter. He's a great fighter. He's tough. He's hungry. He's durable. He's athletic.
Gervonta is setting the boxing world on fire with his training footage, and even Terence Crawford couldn't help but say some positive words. Ever since his draw in March, Gervonta has been on a journey of redemption, and he has shown this best in his training footage.
Oh, there you go. 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 Take deep breaths when you walk. Take deep breaths. Right.
What particularly caught Crawford's eye was the fact that Tank was beginning to do what he did recently while preparing for Canelo. He wasn't only beating bigger sparring partners, he was also knocking them out brutally. As part of his preparation against Jake Paul, Gervonta has employed the services of bigger sparring partners, having seen that Jake Paul is way bigger than him with several weight classes between them. Alongside these sparring partners, Gervonta has also opened up his gym to a few professional boxers who were training for their own fights. During his training on the punching bag and in sparring sessions, Tank is beginning to punch harder and hit his partners with mean intentions, hoping that his punches carry more power and can do enough damage to the heavy Jake Paul.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Take deep breaths when you walk. Take deep breaths. Right.
The Netflix video revealed the kind of Gervonta his fans want to see, the hungry and motivated Tank, not the one that looked discouraged against Lamont Roach. One of the comments read, "Tank is getting into beast mode."
Wake up. Do it to him. Put it on his ass.
I think he knows what went wrong in his last fight already. If he had let his hands go more against his last opponent, he'd have caught him. Another added, "No jokes with Tank at this moment. Man needs to get into violent mode to beat Jake Paul. Being friendly and cool didn't help him. He needs that killer instinct back, and he'd better let his partners feel the hit."
I said, I don't want to say names, be a name dropper, but I seen that man stop 54. I should get some stock in Gervonta Davis for how much I pumped that man up. He earned it.
Yeah,
but
I said, but you the only one to be real about it. You the only one.
154 pounders. I've seen him. I don't want to say names. I'm going to name dropper.
I will do that.
16.
Yeah.
But here's what I tell other people. I said, what you guys don't understand. I love Shakur. I know Shakur for a long time, but I think.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Take deep breaths when you walk. Take deep breaths. Right.
A third wrote, "I don't just feel like this guy's got it anymore. We'll discover when the Jake Paul fight happens. I see the improvement here, though." A fourth added, "Tank falls to the ground on November 14th, mark my words. The size difference is too crazy. It's not even a catch weight. He's just lost everything that made him special. He's struggling so hard to find himself when he's lost already. That's sad." I hope Jake Paul gets the win.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Take deep breath when you want. Take deep breath. Right.
Breezeball, let's go.
The most impressive sight to see in the video was Calvin Ford back in his corner as the details of what went wrong in the last fight were revealed. This revelation came from Calvin Ford surprisingly, and that's because of what happened between him and Gervonta Davis after Tank's fight against Lamont Roach. Tank had not fought a fight since the beginning of his career without Calvin Ford leading his corner.
Like you said, we looked at 3 rounds. Brian was calling, I need 3.
It happened for the first time last week, and the result was there for all to see. However, what was particularly striking was Tank's actions toward Calvin Ford, disrespecting his coach for no reason. During one of the later rounds, when Gervonta Davis was told to be more careful by Coach Calvin, he simply yelled, "Calvin, calm down and listen to me." This was deemed rude by many in the boxing community. A fan said, "I pity that man so much. Tank is so disrespectful and rude, and he really can't do much without him."
As someone that's had Tank since basically he was a pup and you've raised him as a boxer and a man, what would you like to see Tank do?
About it. He made me do it. He made me do it. They start to see. Promoters know these things. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to, in the words of Floyd Mayweather, I'm just trying to keep the playing field even. That's how he said it. Did Floyd say it like that? I'm just trying to keep the playing field even.
And the safety of the sport.
And the safety of the sport.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like to clear that up. Now also, right?
Another had placed himself in Gervonta Davis's shoes. "If I had someone like Calvin Ford do to me what he did to Tank, I'd be forever grateful to him and he'd never lack anything in his life." One condemned Gervonta Davis's actions seriously and described Tank as an evil person. "Tank is so wicked. I really can't be cool with someone like that. He's an ingrate despite all what Calvin did for him." Then he'd come and say Calvin is his dad. However, everything has been settled, and Calvin Ford will be on duty again on November 14th as the head trainer in Tank's corner.
Tank versus Gervonta versus
It's a joke. It's a joke, you know. Yeah, it's a joke. It's gonna be like Mike Tyson. It's gonna be a sparring match, and after they're gonna just steal everybody's money.
Are you gonna watch it?
No.
The fight might be an exhibition, but Tank is definitely not treating it like one. With all boxing rules applying, including the possibility of a knockout, his training sessions are as intense and explosive as ever. Beyond Jake Paul, Tank is on a mission of redemption to rebuild his reputation among boxing fans who see him as unserious and unmotivated. In a surprising twist, boxing witnessed 2 rivals come together when Terence Crawford paid a surprise visit to Gervonta Davis's training camp, offering tips for his fight against Jake Paul next month. Terence Crawford recently experienced what it felt like to jump up in weight and fight a much bigger opponent, one usually 2 or 3 weight classes above him. As a result, he decided to accept the invitation after Gervonta Davis's coach, Calvin Ford, reached out to him to come by. As he watched Gervonta Davis train, Crawford emphasized the need for speed, shouting from ringside that speed is all you've got over him. He claimed Tank was fortunate since he doesn't need to step up in weight. Instead, he advised him to stay fit, quick, and strong if he wants to win the fight. Every time he saw Tank remain in the pocket during sparring, he corrected him, yelling, "You only stay in the pocket after feeling his punches. Don't stay there if you've not tasted it yet."
The victory is just as satisfying to me as a knockout, because at the end of the day, it's all going to go on your record as the same, a win.
Terence Crawford was just as shocked as everyone else when the news broke. Because of the weight disparity, Crawford believes the fight may not end well for Davis. "Jake is too big for Tank," Crawford said on the Full Send podcast. In reality, he's way too big for Tank.
Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over.
Crawford has openly admitted before that he isn't the biggest fan of Davis. However, the 37-year-old refuses to downplay his skill. Still, he reiterated that the size difference would be a major issue. "Tank is very talented, can punch hard, and is explosive, but Jake is too big," Crawford continued. Last time out, Davis had a tough night in the ring. The 30-year-old was forced to settle for a majority decision draw against Lamont Roach on March 1st at Brooklyn's Barclays Center. All signs pointed toward a rematch before Davis suddenly agreed to terms with Paul.
What do you think about it?
Bruh.
Yeah. Lay it on me, Rolly. What do you think, bro? Come on.
I don't even know what to think right now. I don't even know what to think. Maybe Tank has an unreal boxing ability and Jake Paul is really big. But the last time I said somebody was going to be bigger, they weren't that much bigger. But I think in this case, somebody's actually a lot bigger, so.
Did you see the face-off? He's a lot bigger. I know it's like 190. He's gonna 190.
As for the former YouTuber turned fringe cruiserweight contender, he's faced plenty of criticism over the years for his choice of opponents. Crawford doesn't see the point in them fighting, though he admits he'll still tune in. If their showdown isn't an overhyped sparring match and they truly go all out, Bud believes Davis will lose, and in brutal fashion. "I think Jake," Crawford said when asked who would win. "He's just too big. If Jake lands one good punch on Tank, it's over. Jake can punch with that right hand. Dude is big. He's not as slow as people think, and he can punch."
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It's just. I don't want to be.
From his strength and conditioning exercises to his nutrition, sparring, and shadow boxing, there have been major improvements. Perhaps the standout moment of the day was the viral video that's been circulating since morning. Before this training camp began, Gervonta Davis presented himself as a highly disciplined boxer, sticking to his nutrition plan and staying as active as possible. In the new training footage, Gervonta Davis displayed an extraordinary and unique skill set, drilling punch routines at lightning-fast speed with his padman ahead of his exhibition fight against Jake Paul.
What your balance felt like?
Stevenson, the 28-year-old WBC lightweight champion, joined Babcock on the TMZ Sports TV show on Wednesday, just minutes after the Paul vs. Davis fight was announced. Tank is one of the most ferocious boxers in the world, but he's giving up a lot of weight, likely around 60 pounds, in his fight against Paul, Stevenson said. Tank last weighed in at 133 pounds while Jake was 199. So when asked if Jake has a realistic chance to beat Gervonta, Shakur replied, "No," without hesitation. "Nope," Shakur reiterated. "I mean, size will play some part in the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'd probably just go out there, outbox him, and use my knowledge and IQ. I can see Tank outboxing him and making it look real easy." Stevenson continued, "Davis is known for his crushing knockout power, and his 28 KOs in 31 fights back that up. Meaning Paul's going to sleep, right? I think Tank wins by decision. That guy's too big, I don't think he's just going to knock him out. I see him outboxing him." Babcock followed up, and Shakur Stevenson doubled down. "Nah, I don't see Tank knocking Jake out." Stevenson clearly believes this will be a one-sided fight, but he isn't shading the problem child.
Gio's world facts. That's why Tank wants to fight Jake Paul. I'm telling you, he want to fight Jake Paul because he know if he climb in the ring with Shakur Stevenson, he's going to get zapated. He know it. They all know it.
"I think Jake is good for where he's at, but I think there are levels to this," Shakur Stevenson said, making one thing clear: he won't be watching Paul versus Davis. "Hell no." "No," he responded when asked by TMZ Sports. He explained, "That ain't really like I said, here's the thing. I have two sides of me when it comes down to it. I have a business side and then I have a competitor side, and from the competitive aspect, it doesn't excite me for me to be like, okay, I want to watch it." Stevenson added that he expected this move. "No, I'm not shocked. In his last fight when he fought Lamont, Jake Paul was at the fight. He told y'all he was going to fight somebody like Jake Paul. So, I'm not shocked. It doesn't surprise me," Shakur said. But aside from his analysis, the fight still doesn't sit well with Stevenson. He was visibly upset by the rumors that Davis was negotiating an exhibition fight with the YouTuber even before it was confirmed. For Stevenson, this decision represents a direct affront to the sport and his long-standing desire to face Davis in a real championship fight. "Tank is disrespecting the sport if he chooses an exhibition with Paul instead of fighting me," Stevenson told Fight Hub TV.
Gio's world facts. That's why Tank wants to fight Jake Paul. I'm telling you, he want to fight Jake Paul because he know if he climb in the ring with Shakur Stevenson, he's going to get zapated. He know it. They all know it.
"I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that, and he said it was a lie. So, if he's going to say that, let him come and prove it," Stevenson said, expressing his frustration after years of calling for a fight that has yet to happen. Shakur Stevenson has been trying for years to secure a bout with Gervonta Davis. Although both compete in the same division and hold world titles, Stevenson with the WBC and Davis with the WBA, negotiations have never gone far. Between conflicting statements and constant delays, the potential showdown has become a boxing soap opera, leaving fans increasingly impatient to see it realized. Meanwhile, Gervonta seems to be leaning toward a more media-driven route, entertaining the idea of an exhibition against Jake Paul. "We're working on it behind the scenes," Paul said, claiming the fight would happen under specific conditions to deliver the biggest show of the year. The idea has deeply upset Stevenson, who seeks legitimacy, not entertainment. One of the major barriers to this high-level fight has been promoter and network differences. Stevenson is signed with Top Rank and fights on ESPN, while Davis is aligned with premier boxing champions, fighting on Showtime pay-per-view. The lack of cooperation between these rival platforms has long hindered mega fights. As for what's next, Stevenson said 2 opponents are on his radar, Teofimo Lopez and Lamont Roach, who also wanted a fight with Davis after their March draw.
Tank it's the biggest fight in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be the biggest boxing fight in the world when it happens. I can see it happening not too far in the future.
Really?
I can see it happening. I don't think, like, I think Tank will sign that contract.
Dang.
And I'm going to sign a contract too, so it's
then
like,
you're gonna get it on.
Months before his bout with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Jake Paul had already teased the matchup. He revealed that his team was working behind the scenes to secure a fight with Gervonta Davis. At the time, he said, "We're working on it, but it'll most likely be an exhibition." Now, it's official. The announcement has captured the attention of the boxing world. A fight between a ranked cruiserweight and a lightweight champion sounds almost absurd, yet some, like Claressa Shields, seem to welcome the spectacle. For Shields, the news was shocking. Gervonta Davis fought Lamont Roach Jr. on March 1st, and the controversial result led to speculation of a rematch, with many outlets pointing to August.
I think Tank is going through things that we don't know that he's going through mentally, so that's why I kind of like don't want to. I think that whenever I say something about him, it goes viral, and then they make it a way for us to beef or whatever.
Pile on.
Yeah, and it's more of like I ain't got to be friends with him, but I don't hate the dude, and I wish him well. I think that if he get his mental together.
Instead, Davis will face Jake Paul. Shields admitted she might still watch, if only out of curiosity. Shakur Stevenson reacted differently. He had long called for a mega showdown with Davis, yet instead of accepting that challenge, the Baltimore native chose a cruiserweight YouTuber turned boxer. Shields wrote on X, "Seeing Tank vs Jake Paul announced today and not Lamont Roach was very shocking. But I'm going to watch the fight." In making her prediction, she said Gervonta Davis would win, not necessarily because of his mindset, but because he's more experienced and skillful. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and highlights in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications to get alerts whenever we drop quality content like this. Until next time, peace out.